My name is Jason Morales. I am the founder and CEO of Nova Jade Cosmetics, and I want to talk about some things I learned while I was building this business that I wish I knew before I started. Learn to sell. Okay, you have to learn to sell. A product-based business, it's not successful unless you can sell that product to other people. Okay, that's how business works. You need to learn how to sell verbally and in writing to other people. Okay, you're going to be selling through emails, on the phone, in social media posts, in person. There's different types of in-person types of events. Some of them you might be at a trade show. Some of them you might have a meeting with multiple people who are all there ready to ask you questions, okay? So to be prepared when it comes to selling, you need to know everything there is about your products, about your business, along with your competitors' products and the product market as well, okay? Business is a sport, and language is the player carrying the ball to make the score. Okay, so if you suck at talking and you can't explain what your product is in clear details, people aren't going to want to listen to you. Okay, they're going to lose confidence in what you're saying, and they're just going to find a competitor company that can explain it better. All right. On top of knowing your company and product well, you should write down all the potential questions a customer might ask, and write down how to answer these questions. Okay, so a good strategy for this is you got to do some role playing. Okay, put yourselves in the shoes of a customer confronting you, and think of all the different types of questions that you could ask, and you're going to practice writing two different types of responses. The first type of response, it's not going to be formatted very well. You're just going to put all the details that would answer that question. It can be one big long run-on sentence. It doesn't have to be formatted right, okay? Then you want to take all those details, and then now you want to write the answer to this question down in clear, concise details. You want to chop and screw that to where you can condense it, but still have enough details to clearly answer that question in as short as time as possible, where you're satisfying this customer who's asking you a question. Okay, you want the answers to roll off your tongue immediately after you're asked a question. Okay, you want the answer that you're providing to be relevant to the questions without leaving room for them to want to ask more questions on that same subject. So if I ask you a question and you don't provide me a good enough answer to where I feel like I have to answer the same question but just reword it, I'm eventually going to get tired of that sometime at some point. And you got to think of your customers like that as well. So you need to go ahead and practice answering potential questions your customers might ask you. Okay, and if you're prepared for this, you want to write down everything and memorize it just like an actor memorizes a script. You want to role play with people that you know. So if you have family living in your house, you got friends over all the time, or even other people that you just talk to online that you can just get on a video chat or something and spend some time role playing, you're going to do a whole lot better once it's live, where you have a live customer in front of you and you're having to sell to them. Okay, you want to treat answering questions like a race. The faster that you answer the question and the better that you answer these questions, you're going to increase your chances of making the sell because the customer is building confidence, or you're building the confidence in the customer in you. Okay, you want their confidence to be high in you. That way they know if they give you money for your product or your service, that they're going to get exactly what they visualize when they hear you talking. Okay, so selling, the backbone of selling is communication. Okay, it's going to be communication, verbally and written. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of practice and preparation that you need to do before you actually get in front of people to increase your success rate. Create a system of processes for how each part of your business is accomplished. Okay, and an example of this is when I formulate a batch of skincare serum. Let's take Cosmos Revitalizing Skin Serum. I have the formula that I wrote in my possession, and even though I'm the inventor of this formula and I have the formula memorized, I still use a checklist to track everything that's being done at each step in detail every single time I make a new batch. Okay, and this is done to achieve consistent results with the product, and to maintain quality control of the final result. Okay, besides making the product itself, a process needs to be developed for packaging, selling, marketing. Every aspect of the company, you need to develop a process of how you do something, and make that the standard. Okay, this is the only way that we do this one. Let's say we run this one department in our company. This is the only way we're going to run it. Okay, when we do this one thing that helps the company be a company, we're only going to do it by these steps and these standards, and that's it. Okay, if you don't have a process, how are you going to be efficient with your time? Okay, you need processes to be efficient with time and quality when it comes to delivering your product to the customer how they expect it. Okay, you have to deliver what you say, when you say, and how you say the quality will be to remain credible in the customer's eyes. Okay, and solid processes will ensure this happens with high success rates. Okay, you don't want to lose customers or have a breach of contract because the customer ended up getting a product that they didn't expect. Okay, and when companies end up running into that problem, it's because they don't have standardized processes. One thing that's going to help your company become successful is building your street credit on the internet. So when I'm out in public, and let's say I meet somebody or I'm talking to somebody, and for whatever reason I tell them like I own a company, the first thing they're going to do is pull out their phone and they're going to Google my company name. Okay, and when they type in Nova Jade Cosmetics, it's going to pop up in the suggestions that Google ends up pre-generating in your search bar before they even finish typing the name out. Okay, and it's going to be the very first suggestion. After they do this search and they see that my company is listed first on Google, or even just, let's say if your company is on the first page, they're going to be a little bit more confident and sold that your company is a real legitimate company, and they usually end up saying something to me like, oh, it's a real company, that's so cool, or whatever, and that right there is a big deal. If your company can't be found on the first page or the top 3 search results of Google, your street credit on the internet isn't good enough. Google is one of the biggest search engines, and most people will use it to find a company to decide if they have enough street credit on the internet before they even do business with them. It takes a lot of work to be number one in the Google results. It doesn't just happen by magic. It doesn't just happen by having a website. There's work that needs to be done. So I had a marketing specialist approach me, and they were telling me, hey, like I can get you on the first page of Google. Like if you just give me $5,000, I'll make sure that you're number one on Google, or at least like on the first page. And I'm thinking, 5,000 bucks, like I don't even know what the steps are that this person is going to be taking to know if it's worth $5,000 worth of work. So I wanted to figure this out by myself. And around this time is when ChatGPT first came out. It was like the first 3 months ChatGPT existed. And at that time, it was free. So I started having conversations with AI about this, and it helped me understand everything that needs to be done to get a website on the first page of Google, okay, without paying someone thousands and thousands of dollars. You have to flood the internet with company content, and the copywriting on your post has to have the right keywords, the long-tailed phrases to attract organic searches. So you have to think about how somebody, if they're going to search for something, what are the natural words they would use to find something on the internet, just in a regular organic search without having to type your company name. Okay. Your URLs, like the links for each individual page, those little web links, your URLs have metadata. They have the ability to customize them on each individual page of your website. So you have opportunities to put keywords on all these URLs to bump you up on organic searches, as well as getting number one on Google. Another thing that you can do is adding backlinks from other websites. So let's say if you go do a podcast, which is going to be on someone else's website, or it's going to be on YouTube or social media, that's a website. If you take that link and let's say you find some way on your website to talk about this podcast, and whether you're directly talking about the podcast or you might be talking about the product, or your company, and you're able to backlink that podcast into your website, that's another way to boost your ability to get higher up in the Google search page results. And so, and you can do this with other things, like on my website, I use backlinks even from blogs, my own blog as well, to where there might be a backlink on one page, which a backlink is whenever you have a word, it's highlighted when you hover over it and you click on it, and then it takes you to another page by clicking on the words. That's what a backlink is. So that's something that can also help bring you up in the results of Google search. Okay, you also need a good social media presence. You need to stay active with posting, and then it goes right back to your copywriting. What are the words that you're using in these posts? And I'm not just talking about hashtags. I'm talking about the words that you're using to make your paragraph, or whatever format of writing it is that you're using. If someone types in words like this into the search bar, is there going to be a high chance of that social media post coming up and them being able to see it? Okay, so you got to concentrate on these things. And the more content that you have online with the right words, it's going to push you up higher in the Google search results, because you're going to have a bunch of different websites. Each social media website, that's a website. So you're going to have a bunch of different websites on top of your own website, podcast, whatever you can do to get on someone else's website and link some of these over to your website. It makes this web of information about your company. Okay, and again, when you meet somebody and you tell them you have a company, you could even be at a trade show like, hey, my name's Nova Jade, I'm the owner of Nova Jade Cosmetics. And then people type in Nova Jade Cosmetics on their phone and they're like, oh my God, like you're actually on there. Oh, I'm on LinkedIn. Let me go add you on LinkedIn. I'll go follow your page and stuff like that. So having that street credit on the internet is very useful when it comes to getting your company out there to different audiences, getting it out there to the public, getting the public in the know of who you are and why they should know you. Okay, why they should know your company, why they should go look at your website and your products and stuff like that. You got to have good street credit on the internet. Build a network of people and professionals who believe in your business and believe in you. Okay, when it comes to getting your initial exposure for your new business, you can't do it alone. Okay, let's say someone has a podcast and they really like your content that you started putting out. They believe in what you're doing. They might randomly hit you up in your inbox and ask you to be on the podcast to talk about your company. Okay, podcasters, in most cases, they already have a developed audience. Okay, so some of them might have hundreds of thousands of people who regularly listen to their show or watch their podcast in the form of videos. So having these type of relationships can drive their audience to become your audience and your customers. Okay, if the podcast goes well and your relationship with the host is good, the host might even introduce you to other podcasters who will bring you on their shows and get you more recognition with their audience too. So this is a big thing you need to focus on when you're running a brand new company, startup phase. Okay, most people like to watch and listen to online content, and this is a great way to get new company exposure. So after I started doing podcasts, I had investors come and find me, asked if they could give me money. I had other business owners ask to buy my products at wholesale. And these people, they've never used my products before. They've never heard of me before listening on the podcast either. So there's a lot of value in being on a podcast when it comes to these other professional relationships that you can build. So networking outside of, let's say, podcast hosts, you can find people who can help you when it comes to the logistics of your company. I have companies who make labels, packaging, and other things I need for my products, where when I connected to their CEOs or other leaders in their company, it made it a lot easier on me when it came to resourcing these supplies and getting them at a good price. Okay, I've had chemical manufacturing companies randomly make contact with me and ask, hey, can we make your products in our factory? Well, let's have a meeting. This is what we can offer. Okay, so if you want to grow your business faster, you eventually need to make relationships with other business professionals, and some cases these professionals will have audiences that you can kind of piggyback off of and make some of those people your audience.